Hello, welcome to the Social Distance Reading Series, a project of the Vermont School and Green Mountains Review. My name is Francisco Aragon, and today I will be reading from my new book, After Ruben, published by Red Hen Press. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in San Francisco, California, the son of Nicaraguan immigrants. I am the author of two previously published books, Puerta del Sol and Glow of Our Sweat, as well as the editor of the anthology The Wind Shifts New Latino Poetry. Thank you for joining me here in Arlington, Virginia. My book includes an essay at the very end, and I want to try something new. I want to read the first paragraph of that essay. It's an essay in 3 parts, and the title of the essay is My Ruben. And part 1 of the essay includes an epigraph, which are 2 lines of Spanish language poetry by the poet Rubén Darío. La princesa está triste. ¿Qué tendrá la princesa? Los suspiros se escapan de su boca de fresa. Tell me the one about the princess, I'd say, and she'd readily utter these 2 lines. Except for a set of aqua blue encyclopedias, ours wasn't a household replete with books. And yet, during my childhood, this arrangement of words about a sad princess sighing through strawberry lips would float free from my mother's own lips, standing at an ironing board, on the couch watching a telenovela, seated at the kitchen table removing tiny pebbles from a pile of uncooked pinto beans. Nothing kept her from retrieving this poem, one she had to learn in the early 40s as a schoolgirl in Nicaragua, though she never went beyond the 6th grade. You might say then that my mother's favorite Rubén Darío poem had become part of her DNA, her breath, something she passed on to me. And the first poem I'd like to share with you today is about my mother in many ways, and it's titled Jugglers, and it's from section 1 in the book. Jugglers. She and I on a bench peeling prawns. The first day of her 50th year, and she points at street performers about to juggle fire. And a distant summer morning surfaces afloat on the light wind blowing off the bay. Older sisters in the dark hiding as Big Brother parades around the house, his hands outstretched, clutching large candles. I'm on a search, he shouts, marching from room to room, till he finds them huddling in a jungle of clothes. Beacons flickering as flame-hot wax begins to flow across his fingers, while she is walking to Centro Adulto, her head brimming with phrases, the words she needs so she can quit sewing land a job in a bank, and the sitter arriving minutes late, finding us wet and trying to save a coat, a shirt, a dress. It's a small one, nothing the green hose and frantic assembly line of buckets doesn't eventually douse, leaving walls and curtains the color of coal. Mira, she gasps, her left hand wrapping my shoulder, still pointing with the right, as the torches from one juggler to the other begin to fly. That is dedicated to my mother, who passed away in 1997. The first poem in section 2 is what I'd like to share with you next. And it's a poem that is addressed to and dedicated to a former student of mine whose name is Gregory Jen. Gregory graduated from Notre Dame in 2018. The title of the poem is Keogh Hall, and it refers to the name of a dormitory on the Notre Dame campus. And as way of epigraph, the poem is dated November 9th, 2016, University of Notre Dame. Given the date of the poem, I think it speaks for itself, the day after our last presidential election. Keogh Hall. Deplorables knocking at your door, he shouted the day after. Build the wall. We're building a wall around your room. Minutes felt like hours. Cowards, you managed, catching a glimpse by cracking your door. There were 3 of them, scurrying down the hall, their faces obscured. Your back against the wall, you slid to the floor. Hail Mary, you began, whispering to yourself, and back they came, their laughter, louder. Minutes felt like hours, and the thumping in your chest, his fist pounding the door. I'd like to next read the first poem in section 3 of the book. This poem is dedicated to my father. In fact, all the poems, well, the book is dedicated to my father, but section 3 in particular are poems that deal with my father. And this is the first one. It's titled Portrait with Lines of Montali, and that's a reference to the Italian poet, Nobel laureate for literature, Eugenio Montali. And it's a collage of poems in which I deliberately order and rearrange translated lines of his poetry to cobble together this portrait. Portrait with Lines of Montali. a patch of town-sick country. The old shop window shuttered and harmless. An odor of bruised melons oozes from the floor among wicker furniture and a mattress. Mildew, like grass, sprouts as well. The delicate capillaries of slime. Signs of quite another orbit. The ungraspable gorge. Sentiments and sediment where my carved name quivers. His laugh is jagged, coughing. And I'd like to close by reading a poem from section 4 of the book. The essay, which I read at the beginning, is from section 5, and this is from section 4. After Ruben includes 10, I'll call them versions, translations, versions, riffs, imitations of poems by Ruben Darío that I've elaborated into English. And this one is after a poem of his called Yo persigo una forma. I pursue a shape. I pursue a shape which, to my style, remains elusive, bud of a thought that wants to unfurl, that arrives with a kiss alighting on my lips like being hugged by David. Columns are adorned with palms. Stars say I will glimpse a god, and light descends, settling inside me like the bird of a moon settling on a still lake. And yet all I obtain are words wanting to scurry away. Melodious prelude streaming from a flute. Boat of dreams rowing through space. And outside his window, the fountain's spout continues to weep. The swan's neck posing the question. If you enjoyed these poems, you might enjoy the work of 2 books that I'd like to recommend. The first is titled The Inheritance of Haunting by Heidi Andrea Restrepo Rhodes, and it is published by University of Notre Dame Press, and it was published in 2019, last year. The second book I want to recommend is called Catrachos, and it's by the Honduran-born, Miami-raised poet Roy Guzman. And Catrachos is published by Grey Wolf Press. please think about purchasing those books. And again, my book, After Ruben, published by Red Hen Press. And I would encourage you to seek these books out either with the publisher on their website or your favorite independent bookstore that offers online sales. That's it. That's all I have for you today. Please check out my brief Q&A published online at Green Mountains Review online. And please remember to look after yourselves and stay safe during these uncertain times. Thank you very much for spending this time with me.